The birth of most nations around the world, generally, is a cause for celebration, and the meteoric rise of the nation of Bahrain in less than 4 decades since its independence gives its people much cause to celebrate. Touted as the financial capital of the Gulf, Bahrain is home to over 100 banking and investment firms. Infrastructure growth has spawned a host of new developments in both the private and public sectors. An ever-expanding growth of new colleges and universities have sprung up to meet the rapidly growing human resource needs of the 21st century. To better understand where Bahrain is now, it's important to take a look at where she has been.
The National Day of Bahrain is very close to what we would call the Independent Day. It's very close to probably what in America they call it the birth of the nation, the United States of America. That doesn't mean that Bahrain started in 1971. No, Bahrain has been there for many hundreds of centuries.
The island's original inhabitants can be traced back to 3000 BC. Known then as Dilmun, its existence ranks among the earliest of recorded civilized history. Dilmun means land of life. This name might have been attributed to Bahrain because of its many springs of fresh water. Bahrain stood as an oasis surrounded by the neighboring hot and dry Arabia. Dilmun served as an important link for foreign traders venturing to the Gulf on business.
Bahrain was part of what is called the Delmonian Peninsula, or the Delmonian, at the Delmonian time. So there were no actually, like you can say, there is no original people.
Greek and Roman travelers dubbed this land Tylos, meaning two waters. When the Persians came in 1670, they referred to it as the island of Bahrain. Along with the Persians, some of Bahrain's earliest inhabitants hailed from India, Portugal, Northeast Africa, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, and Pakistan.
By 1783, the Al Khalifas crossed over from the Arabian Peninsula and conquered Bahrain. And by 1861, Muhammad Al Khalifa signed a treaty of perpetual friendship with Great Britain. This peace lasted for a little over 100 years. In 1970, Iran attempted to lay claim to Bahrain.
Now the Persians started claiming that Bahrain is part of theirs, and they wanted to come back to Bahrain. So this case was then taken to the United Nations for a general decision, whether it continues with the Al Khalifa being the rulers, or should it go back to Iran.
Through a series of complex negotiations involving Great Britain, Iran, and the people of Bahrain, its people voted overwhelmingly to adopt independence under the Al Khalifa rule. In 1971, the newly formed independent nation of Bahrain had a population that teetered slightly above 70,000 inhabitants. Though small, this tiny nation held great promise.
In 1971, it was the real start of the modern Bahrain. You know, in about 6 or 7 years, from 71 till about 80 or just before 80, the very good infrastructure was created and established in Bahrain, especially in the banking sector.
In its first decade of independence, Bahrain made tremendous strides. The oil boom of the 1970s served to usher in new infrastructure development.
In the 1930s, when the oil was discovered first, it was firstly discovered in Bahrain, before any other Gulf country.
Newly paved roads, businesses, and housing sprouted up across the country. Educationally, the Bahrain Center for Studies and Research was established. In 1977, the first commercial flight of the Anglo-French Concorde jet flew from London to Bahrain. And by May of 1978, the Bahrain Telephone Company began operating its commercial cellular telephone system. This system became the forerunner to the cordless mobile phone system in great use today.
Before Batilco was formed, it was cable and wireless. And the coverage was the whole of the Middle East to the east coast of Africa and the Indian subcontinent. So they were communicating to the ships from Bahrain.
By the late 1970s, civil war had broken out in the country of Lebanon, the one-time banking and financial center of the Middle East. Many nervous bankers and financial brokers decided to relocate their businesses to Bahrain, where life was considerably calmer. And slowly but surely, throughout the 1980s, Bahrain witnessed the gradual transition of financial power drift to its shores. The movement of financial power to Bahrain during the 1980s coincided with the movement of people power from Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. Construction on the Dutch-engineered King Fahd Causeway, connecting the eastern province of Saudi Arabia to Bahrain, was completed in 1986. Along with its growth as the Gulf's financial center, the 1980s marked an especially unique time in the growth of human capital as well.
الحكومة كانت على طول تطرش بعثات برا، بيروت، مصر، الكويت. فاحنا مجموعة عودة رحنا الكويت، درسنا بجامعة الكويت. أتذكر بعثتنا كانوا تقريبا 70 طالب وطالبة.
The Arabian Gulf University was founded in 1980, offering course majors in science, engineering, and medicine. By 1986, the University College of Polytechnic merged to form the nationally established University of Bahrain. From 1989 through to present day, Bahrain has undergone drastic transformation. Its modest population of 70,000 has expanded to over 708,000, with close to 250,000 of that figure being non-nationals coming from every corner of the globe. Infrastructure projects have boomed to include land reclamation and the building of the $1.3 billion financial harbor in 2004. In that very same year, Bahrain placed itself on the sporting map with the ambitious project to build the first Formula One racetrack in the Gulf. Educationally, Bahrain continued to progress by awarding in 2001 the license to Ahlia University to open its doors as the first private institution for higher education in the country. And the new city center opened its doors to throngs of excited shoppers in 2008. Yet, for all of its great modern advancements, Bahrainis still cherish their many age-old traditions. Many men can still be found wearing the long robe called the thobe. Women still cover their clothes with the black cloak, known as the abaya.
في أواخر السبعينات بدأت حركة الحجاب بشكل بسيط لاحظناه في الكويت مو في البحرين. احنا كنا ندرس في جامعة الكويت هذه قبل الثورة الإسلامية الإيرانية. بدأت بعض يعني بنتين ثلاث. فكان شيء غريب بالنسبة لنا.
Though no longer crucial to the nation's economy, pearl diving is still practiced to this very day.
I remember when I was young, we had no TV at all. Then we had TV, and the only channel we could see at one time was Dahran. And they were like, Dahran only were showing some of the American series, okay? Some I remember. And we had, the biggest sort of attraction was wrestling. So we have a lot of gathering in the house watching the wrestling matches and all, no? And everyone supports his own wrestler, and then the family start fighting if their champion or wrestler loses or whatever.
Traditional foods are still prepared in the very same fashion as it was long before Bahrain was an independent nation. And shisha parlors, where men and women gather for relaxation after a hard day's work, are peppered throughout the country.
We are a small country. Everybody knows everybody in Bahrain. But still, we respect the different jobs, you know. We respect everybody, you know. We believe in hard working. We believe in competitions. We believe in, as I said, competitive education, good education. And this is the nature of the Bahraini people. And this nature we do not want to change.
In a little less than 4 decades, the independent island nation of Bahrain has evolved from the margins of Gulf society to emerge as a global player, taking a firm place with the leading nations of the world in the 21st century.